everybody, and welcome. This is our regular business meeting for Tuesday, November 10th. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I always give it to somebody, and you're representing the Thurston County. What is
Thurston County United Way.
Okay, and what was your first name?
Paul Larson.
Paul, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? One of these days, I'm going to do it for myself.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Before we go on to roll call, I want you to notice that normally our meetings are recorded and broadcast out, but today it's not. There is recording for Hood Canal Communications, but the reason why is Deidre, who usually does this, his wife is had surgery, and she's having a rough day this morning. I don't know if you're religious, but if you wouldn't mind including her in your prayers, if you are so inclined. With that, roll call, please.
Commissioner District 1, Randy Netherlands.
I'm here.
Commissioner District 2, Tim Sheldon.
Also here.
Commissioner District 3, Terry Jeffries. Here.
Item number 4, correspondence of organizational business. Is there any correspondence to come before this commission?
Yes, there is. The Conservation Commission sent information regarding implementation of the Voluntary Stewardship Program. The Bonneville Power Administration sent notice of a vegetation control project. Mason County Hospital District 2 sent the levy certification, and the Department of the Navy sent documents pertaining to the National Environment Policy Act.
Mr. Chairman, I make a comment.
Please.
Just for the public's knowledge, the Bonneville Power Administration will be doing more extensive cutting of their vegetation, so you're going to see some trees cut down along their power lines where you normally would not. Just to let you all know, they're being more aggressive with their vegetation management.
Any other correspondence?
That's it.
Next up is item number 4.2, Veterans Recognition for Mason Lewis Thurston, Retired Senior Volunteer Program presenter, Paul Larson. And I'm actually, normally if you notice, I stay away from this stuff, but I'm going to come down for this one myself as well, so.
Just got a couple of prepared comments.
No, please. Yeah.
My name is Paul Larson. I'm with the United Way of Thurston County. I'm their retired senior volunteer programs director. We serve Lewis, Mason, and Thurston counties. So, through the Senior Corps and RSVP program, it's a partnership between the United Way of Thurston County and the United Way of Mason County. Our veterans are continuing to serve their country, applying their leadership abilities and skills to solve problems on the home front. Here in Mason County, we have veterans serving at Catholic Community Services, the Hood Canal Food Bank, the Mason County Senior Activities Association, Matlock Food Bank, North Mason Food Bank, the Saints Pantry Food Bank, and also the Shelton School District. Last year in our country, more than 18,500 veterans served in AmeriCorps and Senior Corps. Last year here in Mason County, RSVP veterans volunteered over 21,000 hours to their community. That's a cost savings in our community of nearly $500,000 a year. In our 3-county region, Lewis, Mason, and Thurston counties, that cost savings is over $1.3 million because of volunteer help. Across the country, this week, Senior Corps programs are holding events on and around Veterans Day to honor those dedicated individuals and to bestow specifically designed pins for their service. With the help of Commissioner Randy Netherlands, we're going to be handing these pins out now. So, John Acox.
Thank you.
Ernest Artune.
God bless you. Thank you for everything you've done for my family and the rest of my family.
Kenneth Hackett. Thank you very much. Thanks so much. Gary Hall. Really appreciate it. Ed Hester. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Oliver Petty.
God bless you, my friends. Thank you for everything you've done for my friends and my family. This is all I've already been in the town 87 years.
He's been in this town 87 years.
James Messling.
God bless you. Thank you for everything you've done for my family.
You are us.
Kim Weaver.
God bless you, Mr. Weaver. Thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for our community, my family, and allowing us to have this thing we have. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Was there anybody else who didn't get a chance to sign in? Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming, participating. We really couldn't do this without you. You guys are amazing. Yes. Thank you.
Commissioners, would you like to comment, please?
I'd like to say something. When you go to larger cities in our state and bigger communities and all of this, and then people relocate here and they come back, sometimes they say to me that we have a stronger sense of community here in Mason County than what they had when they lived on Queen Anne Hill or someplace else. And really, I think this is where the heart of it is volunteerism and people giving back, and what a wonderful community we have, and it's just really, really great to know, and thanks for coming today. It's very nice for us, and very nice for us to be able to recognize you, because we often don't say thank you enough.
And then obviously the culture of service starts in your training as a armed forces personnel, and you carry it through, and thank you so much. I'm just thankful that our culture of service starts with our armed forces. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service to the community, and we appreciate you, because this county is run by volunteers. It truly is.
I want to give my heartfelt appreciation, not just for what you do today, but what you've done for us in the past. Yeah, we fight, we argue, we do a lot of things, but we wouldn't have anything to fight or argue over if it hadn't been for your service. And you put your lives on the line, leaving your families at times, and going towards the danger instead of away from it. God bless you all, and thank you very much for your service. Next up is, sorry guys, news release, Cole Road Park and Ride One-Day Closure staff. Ms. McFadden.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mason County Public Works is advising motorists that the Cole Road Park and Ride is scheduled to be closed from 7 a.m. till 3 p.m. on Friday, December 4th. The temporary closure will allow county crews to perform needed maintenance activities, including vegetation control, storm drain cleaning, parking lot sweeping, cleanup along the Jersey barriers, and sign work. So we appreciate your patience and understanding during the temporary closure, and we would encourage you to consider using an alternative lot during the closure. So one example would be the DOT operates the park and ride located at Highway 101 and the Shelton Matlock interchange. A reader board will be stationed at the park and ride with closure information the week before maintenance activities, and our standard road closure notification will be transmitted to all the folks who currently receive it. If you have any questions, please contact the Public Works Department. We're at 360-427-9670, extension 450.
Is there any other correspondence or organizational business to come before this body?
But we want to let our guests know that don't feel like you have to stay.
Yeah, please. It's okay. We'll wait for a few minutes if you'd like to go ahead, and we don't blame you, believe me. So it's some pretty boring, dry stuff.
We've got exciting things on
That's pretty incredible, all the people that were here from that's pretty impressive.
We have to quit saying this is boring stuff. This is the business of the county.
Oh, yeah. It's official and boring. Okay. Next up is item number 5, which is our open forum for citizens input. This is your opportunity to speak on any issue that is not on the agenda. If it is on the agenda, we'd ask that you wait and for that time and you would get an opportunity to testify or ask any questions you may have. So if it's not on the agenda, this is your opportunity. We ask that you raise your hand, we recognize, and please tell us your name and perhaps where you're from. There's a 5-minute per person maximum, 15 minutes total, so please be brief. With that being said, is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on any issue that is not on the agenda? We almost lost you over there on the side.
I wasn't, excuse me, let me position myself perfectly. Good morning, my name is Charles Orthman, I'm a Great Bee resident, and I'm with the Mason County Voting Accessibility Advisory Committee, and that is the subject of my visit today. I'm glad Steve showed up at the last minute. When I peeked in here and I didn't see him, I thought, I'll come back another day. Part of this story.
Could you just say the name of it again? Mason County Voting
Accessibility Advisory.
Oh, voting. Okay, that made more sense.
Are you Lewis appointed to that group?
No, actually, that's the story today. Stay tuned, okay? I was at one time homeless and actually sleeping on a couch in a driveway in downtown Shelton. The very first day that I had a roof over my head, I turned on my favorite radio station and Steve was on. And he was upset about a low voter turnout. And Dale Hubbard's last words that morning were, if just one person voted in the general that did not vote in the primary, he felt that we would have accomplished something. So I got on a bus that morning and I came in from my new home and stopped at the radio station and thanked Jerry and Dale for bringing that information to the general public. And I went and I registered and I voted. And one of the names that was on the ballot was Mr. Jeffries. So this was kind of interesting the way that this is beginning to come together. And when I first met Commissioner Jeffries, she wasn't a commissioner. I was waiting for a Mason Transit bus on Mountain View by Stacy's Automotive. And as I'm looking down the road, I caught out of the corner of my eye somebody appearing to have a blonde moment. And they were attempting to I'm sorry. Is that not politically correct?
This is Mason County.
We're okay with that. All right. She was attempting to pound a campaign sign into rocky Shelton soil. Damsel in distress, I'm going to offer my help, and so I approached cautiously. She's got a hammer. I've never met this gal before. And along the way, I asked the question, do you get paid for this? And that's when I found out that the name on the sign and the person installing the sign were indeed one and the same. So, okay. So now let me ask you that question. Do you get paid for this?
Yes, I do.
But you have to have voters first, and that's where Steve comes in handy, right? And so recently, I had hernia surgery on July the 13th. I wasn't able to do my annual outreach with election staff at the Transit Center. I had to call for them and say, the doctor told me staff might be eaten. But about 3 weeks ago, I was down at the Transit Center and I was talking to a transit customer customer, and I was telling him about how this transit center came about, and I was pointing to the list of names on the dedication plaque, and when he got to Commissioner Netherland, he said, oh, he was a guard on the football team. He said, I played right next to it. Do you know who I'm talking about? I know. Ken Collins. Oh. Okay, so I asked Ken, I said, are you a voter? And he said, no. And I said, come on. So we came up, we registered, and, and he said to tell you hi. He said, next time you come, to tell you hi. So I'm starting to see how this community working together to get the voters first, then we'll get the people that we need in office. And you folks, all of you, are doing a wonderful job. It's been a pleasure to be able to come here and be a part of this and be accepted. That's the big thing, right? That I've recognized you for the work that you do in the community for quite some time. It's pleasing to be able to come and tell you thanks for your efforts. And good luck in the future. And I do have some Mason County stuff that I would like to talk to you guys about in the future, and after the first of the year probably. And I got a little something coming up on my Shelf and Poverty Advisory team. We're about to button this project up, and next order of business will be something called the Portland Loo that we're working at. So Thursday, the 19th, is World Toilet Day. Okay? It's a United Nations Observance Day, and it also is World Philosophy Day. And so that famous picture of the guy on the toilet thinking, I got something coming up on that day. We have a special staff meeting coming up Friday, and we'll discuss the details, and I'm sure you guys will hear about it. Give you another opportunity to come and visit me, okay? I'm going to be all around town that day. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak at this time in regards to anything that's not on the agenda? Hearing none, we will go ahead and move on to item number 6, which is the adoption of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of County Commissioners adopt the agenda as presented today.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded for the adoption of the agenda today as written. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 7, approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the October 26, 2015 briefing minutes.
And I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
It has been moved and seconded for the approval of the October 26, 2015 briefing minutes as written. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Next up is item number 8, which is our approval of our action agenda. All items listed under the action agenda may be enacted by one motion unless a commissioner or citizen requests it be removed from the action agenda and considered as a separate item. We will go ahead and read each of the items to you. You'll be given an opportunity to ask a question that would help you to make that decision. But if you want to testify, we ask that you please just go ahead and have it pulled off, and you'll be given the opportunity to testify when it's brought back up. With that being said, I'll read item number 8.1 through 8.4. Commissioner Sheldon, if you'll read 8.5 through 8.7, and Commissioner Jeffries, if you'll read 8.8, 9, and 10. Item number 8.1, approval to reschedule the December 22nd, 2015 regular commission meeting to 9 a.m. rather than 6 p.m. Item number 8.2, approval to set a public hearing on Monday, December 7th to consider adoption of the 2016 budget for the Mason County. Copies of the 2016 preliminary budget will be available to the public on November 23rd, 2015. Item number 8.3, approval to reappoint Jeff Thompson and appoint April Pruitt-Poole to the Veterans Advisory Board for 2-year terms each. Item number 8.4, approval for the board to authorize Public Works equipment, rental, and revolving ER&R to use the county's Municipal Research and Service Center, MRSC vendor roster for written and/or telephone solicitations and award contracts for tire repair and towing services for 2016 calendar year. Mason County does not guarantee a minimum purchase of these services.
Chairman, 8.5 starts with approval for the board to authorize Public Works equipment repair and revolving ER&R to advertise, set the opening date, time, award, and allow the chair to sign all pertinent documents for the call for bids to furnish Mason County with culvert pipe and linings for the 2016 calendar year. Contract award will be announced at a future Mason County Commission meeting. 8.6, approval for the board to authorize Public Works to use the county MRSC vendor roster for written and/or telephone solicitation to establish a surfacing material unit pricing vendor list for the 2016 calendar year. 8.7, approval for the board to authorize Public Works to solicit a 2016 letter of interest list for construction project inspectors, contract and fee appraisers, construction material testing, and timber management services, and enter into agreements for these services as needed for projects scheduled for the upcoming construction season.
Item 8.8, approval for the board to authorize Public Health to extend 2060 and 2163 professional services contracts for 6 months to June 30, 2016, to include the following: the Crossroads Shelter Operations, Crossroads Transitional Housing, and Crossroads Rental Assistance, North Mason Resources Homeless Advocate, St. David's Housing Options for Students in Transition, St. David's Community Lifeline, Turning Point, Feller Center Cold Weather Shelter. 8.9, approval of the board to authorize ER&R to declare surplus vehicles at the Washington State Surplus Sales and/or Ritchie Brothers Auctioneers. 8.10, approval to amend the consolidated contract C17118 Amendment 5 Statements of Work for 1, the Natural Estuaries Program Pollution Identification and Correction, and 2, Tuberculosis TB Program.
Now that that has been read into the record, this is your opportunity to ask any questions that you may have in regards to any of the items on there to help you decide whether to take it off for a separate vote. Are there any questions? Is there any items anybody would like taken off for a separate vote? Commissioners, any items?
No, I have a question though.
Okay.
8.8, these contracts are for the amount that was previously allocated?
For the same amount moving forward, duplicated.
But prorated,
Yeah.
6 months.
Prorated, just prorated.
Yes, but the same amount, no change.
Same amounts and no change. Okay, thank you.
Anything further? I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve items 8.1 through 8.10 on today's action agenda.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
It has been moved and seconded for the adoption of the action agenda 8.1 through 8.10 as written with no additions or corrections. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, the motion carries. And that brings us to item number 9. We have no public hearings set before us, so we will move on to items number 10, which is other business, department heads and elected officials. Are there any department heads first who would like to speak at this time? Any elected officials who would like to speak at this time? Hearing none, we'll move on to board reports and calendars. Who would like to go first?
I'd be happy to. Following last week's commission meeting, we did do the interviews of the Veterans Advisory Board applicants, and we had quite a great pool. I'm very delighted to have appointed probably our first woman to the Veterans Advisory Board. Then I had an orientation for the Transportation Improvement Board, which I've been appointed to, and I'll have my first meeting next week. Attended the sexual harassment training provided by one of our own sheriff's deputies, and I appreciate that we can do that in-house. And then did a house signing, or a land signing for purchase, some work for Habitat for Humanity. And then met with the Olympic Legion Clean Air Authority compliance officer and our deputy prosecuting attorney on the county's police powers, or the Orca's police powers around odors, around marijuana production, because we've had some complaints about some of our outdoor grow operations. Had a very long meeting with the Hood Canal Quarrying Council, Integrated Watershed Planning Group. We had 25 what they call near-term actions to review and forward to the board for potential inclusion in the fall Puget Sound action plan for preservation and cleanup of the Puget Sound. And then had a phone meeting reviewing, we are partnering with the Trust for Public Land as a county for potentially doing a poll of citizen interest in some options for dedicated park funding through a ballot initiative. I just was appointed to the Community Action Council board, and we had a retreat, and I'm very excited. It was acknowledged both by staff and by members of the board that Community Action Council's housing work here in Mason County does need to be beefed up, and looking for some opportunities to do that, and we'll be connecting them with our new housing coordinator to see what we can do to bring more affordable housing in Mason County. And then we had briefings and budget briefings yesterday, and then this morning after our meeting, we'll also have another budget workshop at the assessor's office, and then I have a MACECOM meeting this afternoon. Wednesday's a holiday, but which means there's work to do for organizations that don't take a holiday, and then I will be going to a wedding out of the state for the rest of the weekend on Thursday and Friday, and back for briefings on Monday.
Who are you marrying?
I was not able to attend the meeting last week. I had a medical appointment in Seattle, which took me door to door 3 hours to get there. Basically, I was still late. But I was also at a Public Power Council meeting in Portland for Wednesday and Thursday, and the big subject is the Bonneville Power rates. Of course, it's a cost, public power is cost-based, not there's no margin in it. But those rates have grown substantially over the years, and especially the fish costs. If you take a look at the fish programs that are on the Columbia, that's almost a third of your power bill.
A third?
1/3 of Bonneville's costs are for fish. And, fish guys never found a project that they didn't want to continue. Even though it got to be successful, we still got to continue it. But it's an interesting discussion, because if you do the projections, where will we be in 2028, where the new contracts are up? We really are a public power community with PUD 3 and PUD 1. But if the price is so high, will utilities look for other ways to finance or to purchase power? And that might be through new gas plants or anything else that comes along. So people are pretty concerned about the costs. And there's been a lot of discussion, which is good, because Bonneville has to really start to face the facts that their double-digit increases every couple of years are driving even our low power rates up for especially our senior citizens and those on fixed income. I spent a little time in the Olympia office too, dealt with some constituents and met with a few contractors, and although we aren't really smelling a lot of fresh concrete being poured here and some other signs of more construction activity, I think it's a little better, but not anything like some of our surrounding counties. I had a chance to actually be up in Clallam County for the last couple of days too, over the weekend, and there's something going on in other places as well, but still that's also a very rural county. We had our briefings yesterday, and we will have after our commission meeting today, as Commissioner Jeffrey said, we'll meet with the assessor's office. We'll be closed on Wednesday, the 11th, for Veterans Day, and I have a meeting with some constituents on Thursday, and then another meeting on Friday. So it should be a busy week, and then back here on Monday, the 16th, for our briefings again, and then I believe our next meeting would then be on the 17th. Thank you.
Okay, we had our veterans interview, and again, it was pretty exciting that I'm pretty sure it's our first woman vet on that organization. I think it's a great step forward, and I think she's going to be wonderful for them. She's very active in the community, does a lot already for the veterans, and I don't know, I think we did a good job. That's a reflection, yes. I had that meeting with a couple of the warring factions in the North End. It actually went exceptionally well. They ended up having communication applications now outside of me and starting to move forward. And it's being productive when it comes to trails and the like. And, you know, we have such a great community up there. I'm proud of them every time I see them and deal with them. I had a meeting with the North Mason school superintendent. We had our sexual harassment training. And let's see, I had a meeting with the Young Business Professionals, Allen Community Association, Mason County Our Women, the Hood Canal Coordinating Council Achievement Awards. We had our budgets, our meetings, our briefings. I went to a Republican meeting last night of all things, and first time for a long, long time of going into that room. It was interesting. Then next week, after this, we have a budget briefing. I am meeting with the West Sound Alliance. That's a transportation infrastructure coordinated group from the region. Legislative steering community conference call, the Economic Development Council. I'll be gone for a couple days. I'm putting my brother's ashes back home. And then we have back for briefings. The North Mason School District is having a film on working with autistic kids and children in need. Meeting with some folks on the trails up there. We're moving forward on all that. Have another meeting with the Department of Transportation and Washington Department of Transportation and some of the community members in regards to fencing and speed signs or speed sensors. I don't know whether or not we will be having a meeting. Have been able to schedule yet with the superintendent in regards to the grants?
Not yet.
Okay, thank you. So we don't know about that. And that brings us back for briefings and we start all over again.
Which superintendent is that?
The superintendent of North Mason School District. What it is, you know, as I say, we were able to acquire, the county was able to acquire a very big grant for the North Mason School District to do fields up there. But in the process of when all that happened, there was a transition on the superintendent, and the old one left and basically took everything with him and didn't say anything to anybody. And so when the new one came in and all the staff that was there, they had no idea this was happening. So there's $500,000 that we're trying to make happen, and she's going to sit down with us and find a way to get it in her budget. She said specifically she's going to make it happen, so we're not going to lose that money. We're not going to, so it's wonderful. Other than that, is there anything else?
I just want to mention, we'll get just a second, that I talked to our budget manager this morning, just for the other commissioner's benefit. The public knows we're going through a budget process right now, and we are considering some increases. There haven't been any increases, and basically across the board increases in so many years because of the recession. But one of the things I asked Frank to do is maybe we can find some kind of a middle ground here where those that are the highest paid people in the county, if we did a percentage, would of course receive much more than people that are paid a lot less in our county. So Frank's a brilliant guy, and we're very happy to have him here. So I'm surprising him by telling him, by praising him here, but he's got a lot of things on his plate. But I think maybe if we thought long and hard with Frank's help, how can we structure this so that people that are more in the middle or towards a lower paid individuals in our county who just go to work every day, work very hard all through the recession, they receive no increases, how we could structure it a little differently than just something across the board. I guess that's my thought.
It's going to take a lot of work to develop that, because I think there were times that individuals received large raises because of certain things, and you know, it might even mean drilling down to those, you know, folks that got reclassifications and then saw $40,000 increases.
And maybe those, you could exclude those people if they had an increase in the last 18 months, 2 years, or whatever. So you could set some time period. But just creatively, maybe there's a way to be more fair to those that are earning less.
Because that's why we want to do this.
Yeah, because percentages don't really represent. It won't benefit those equally.
But for the public, you got to understand, it's also a gentleman match. It's not as simple as just the words we're saying. It's a gentleman match with the unions and everything else. And one thing I'm sure we're all going to agree on, can we get consensus that Frank is a genius? Okay, we have consensus that Frank is a genius. We're lucky to have him. With that being said, is there any thing else to come before this body?
I'll defer to Vicki. I just wanted to confirm, because I'm not sure I heard that we have a briefing right after this meeting.
Is it right after this?
It's 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock it's scheduled.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, we didn't mention that.
We didn't mention the time, but we said we're going to be, that's a budget. Right?
No, we also have a briefing with Public Health and Human
Oh,
Services.
briefing.
Yes, at 10 a.m.
Okay, that's what we got that handled. Anything further? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you, James.
You got a lot of signatures in here.